Alrighty, so we got about less than an hour before the final game of this penultimate weekend of the MLS regular season is over between LAFC and Atlanta United in that Sunday night soccer game. Somebody tells me that game is not going to be close whatsoever, but you never know. Anyway, that's enough time for me to quickly do the review part one of looking at these penultimate weekend's matchup. And also, just a side note, I already did the matinee game, so I already look at the first three games from this penultimate weekend. So that means it's a little bit easier when it comes to doing these two-part review, where we're going to look at 8 games today, and then tomorrow we'll look at the last four game, which includes the two Sunday games that we saw today, or at least we're about to see in that game between LAFC versus Atlanta United that is coming up. But with that being said, let us begin by talking about the Supporter Shield race because there is a chance that the Supporter Shield race was going to be wrapped up this weekend. The Union, of course, currently holds a 4 point lead in the Supporter Shield race. A win in the game that they have against NYCFC. They clinched the Supporter Shield race. But let's start off with the team that is chasing the Union for the Supporter Shield race, and that, of course, is Cincinnati. So Cincinnati knew that they had to win this game. They had to win this one to basically force the Supporter Shield race to the final day, and they did exactly that, though it was not pretty. I mean, this was a game where, the Red Bulls, they had their moments in this game, and this game kind of also sums up the Red Bulls at times this season, where even when they have games that they play well, even against some good opposition like Cincinnati, they're not being clinical in terms of their finishing. Now, in the first half, Choupo-Moting with the game's first shot, but he missed high before the Red Bulls with all the possession, which is something that I did not expect early in this one. This is something that for the Red Bulls, they're a team that I know this season they have been known to have more possession than we've seen in previous year. But this is Cincinnati we're talking about. Cincinnati is a team that likes to have possession. That's kind of the MO for Pat Nolan's side. But it didn't matter because in the 12th minute they would score Cincinnati as Kevin Denke would score from Brenner to give Cincinnati a 1-0 lead. Definitely a contention for goal of the week because that was an absolute golazo for Kevin Denke. I mean, of all the goals that Denke has scored for Cincinnati, this is probably the best one. He scored from long range there, but at the same time, yeah, that was some bad closing down for the Red Bulls. I mean, you cannot let Denke with that much space to shoot, even from long range like that. When a goal scorer like Denke, he's gonna have his eyes light up when he has that much space to shoot in. And boy, did he punish the Red Bulls of giving him that much space from outside the box. Brenner then looked for another, but he missed wide before Morales would put one into the stands. It was a shout for a penalty for the Red Bulls not given. Brenner would then put it wide as the flag went up in the 38th minute, and then Laurel would deny Frostberg from close in the 41st minute. But we do head to halftime with Cincinnati leading 1-0. In the second half, Hackwood puts it high from long range. I thought the Red Bulls were on the front foot early in this one. They were looking to try to get the equalizer. Engel would miss wide as he was in on goal before Frostberg had a shot that was deflected high. And then Morales was trying to go for an Olympico goal. So it's kind of interesting that if that one went in, it's kind of interesting to see that in this matchup. We already seen this in this matchup that an Olympico goal was scored in this matchup. You remember back in, I believe it was the COVID shortened season. Was it Harris Medunian, the one that scored an Olympico goal for Cincinnati against the Red Bulls? So it'd be kind of funny the fact that 5 years later we'll see Morales almost did the same thing this time to Cincinnati, but it was palmed away by Laurel. There was no doubt the Red Bulls were knocking on the door of the equalizer, but the thing is, they weren't being clinical in terms of finishing. Cincinnati was kind of holding on for a bit. And again, I know this is the specialty of Pat Nolan in terms of winning one goals game, but as I said last week, they cannot keep winning these one goal game and just keep hanging on and think that will work out all the time. And we saw in the game against Orlando City, yeah, it comes back to bite them in a big way of not putting this game away. Evander would cross it wide from long range before Duncan hits it right to Laurel in the 78th minute, and that was pretty much it. As in the end, Cincinnati kind of shut things down in this one. They get the 1-0 win in this one. They only had 6 shots in this game compared to 17 that the Red Bulls had. 2 shots on goal for the one that Cincinnati has. Both teams had 4 shots off target. 9 shots that was blocked for the one that Cincinnati has, and possession-wise, 62% possession compared to 38% possession that Cincinnati has in this game. So Cincinnati, of course, did their job in terms of getting the win in this one. So now all the pressure is on the Philadelphia Union. Can they get the win in this game to potentially seal the Supporter Shield race and don't have to worry about in the final game of the season? And the answer is yes. They seal the deal by getting themselves their own 1-0 win against the New York side that is NYCFC, and this felt like a very Union game. We know the Union is a team that likes to be physical. They like to play that smash mouth kind of soccer, and throughout this game, they really took it on NYCFC in this one. They really suffocated NYCFC throughout this game. We know that this team is also a very good defensive team. In fact, the best defensive team in the league right now with the least amount of goals conceded. And yeah, they really shut down this NYCFC attack. This NYCFC attack is not a joke. I mean, this has been a very good attack, especially in the second half of the season. Now, in the first half, Martinez was in on goal, but he missed wide before Freeze denied Iloski from close. Makanya then puts it wide from close in the ninth minute, as the Union was definitely on the front foot. They definitely looked like they're trying to get the early opener. The crowd was definitely into it in this one. And there's no doubt for Bradley Carnell, he would love to get the job done tonight rather than wait till decision day because they have a much tougher decision day match coming up as well. Freeze would then deny Diamani, but then it falls to Uru, who puts it high on the rebound, and then Diamani would hit it right to Freeze in the 60th minute. Blake would then deny Wolf from close range. The shots were 5-2 for Philly early in this game. So Philly definitely dominated the chances, but NYCFC had a couple of those themselves. Matanya then missed wide from the header in the 29th minute, and really after a frantic start to this game, things did start to get tightened up a little bit. Not much chances really were created, as we saw early in this game. That all changed in the 41st minute because the Union would get the opening goal as Mikael Uru. It's been a rough season for Mikael Uru, and this maybe could be the last season we might see Uru in, especially with the recent acquisition of Eloski. I feel like Uru probably is not going to be re-signed with this team. But if this is his final season, at least he can claim that he, of course, scored the goal that clinched the supporter shield for the Philadelphia Union. So he scored here from Lukic to give the Union a 1-0 lead. It was also a fortunate goal, too, because it took a deflection and goes in. That's kind of the luck when you're the supporter shield winner. You're going to get those luck that goes your way. And just like that, the Union were up 1-0. There was another shout for a penalty for the Union not given, but we do head to halftime with Philly leading 1-0. In the second half, both team I thought was very direct early, especially playing the long ball. But despite that, neither team really created too many dangerous chances to show for, because anytime when they get to direct on the attack, there was no outlet for them to defeat the ball in the final third. Wagner would then hits one closer to New Jersey than goal before Vasilev would hit it right to Freeze in the 57th minute. The Union were definitely looking for another, trying to put this game to bed and clinch the supporter shield tonight. Glesnes fought, he did so in the 77th minute. Problem was, the flag came up for offside, and it was close, but I think it was the right call in the end. Markel then hits it wide off of the deflection in the 82nd minute on a rare NYCFC chance. It was a very quiet game for Markel. It was even a more quiet game for Alonso Martinez as well. This was probably one of the quietest and one of the non-impacting that Alonso Martinez has had. That just shows you how good the Union defense was. They really shut him down throughout this entire game. In fact, you notice I didn't even put him on the notes here. That just shows you how he pretty much had no chance or created nothing out of this one. John Jack then missed wide from close range, but then in the 89th minute, NYCFC thought they tied it up as Carrizo would put the ball into the back net. Problem was, the flag also came up for offside, but that was definitely a huge warning sign for the Union, because yes, you're up 1-0. Yes, you've been dominating throughout this game and you've been shutting down this NYCFC attack, but you don't want to just hold on for dear life a little bit and trying to hold on to this 1-0 result and not kill the game off. Now, unfortunately, they weren't able to do so, but the thing that they did do is hold on to that 1-0 lead to clinch the supporter shield. So, yeah, the shots in this one, 15 shots for the 7 that NYCFC had, 2 shots on goal for the 5 that the Union has, 6 shots off target for the 2 that NYCFC had. Both teams had 3 shots that was blocked, and possession-wise, 61% possession compared to 39% possession the Union has in this game. And with this win, as I said, they officially become the 2025 Supporter Shield winner. There's definitely going to be a video that I'm going to be making about them in the middle of the week. I'll also make the video about San Diego breaking the expansion season points record, as we'll talk about that in just a bit. But yeah, I mean, what a season it's been for the Philadelphia Union. I mean, this is a team that I thought they were going through a rebuild or a retool, and especially with the way that when Bradley Carnell was higher, and the fact that Union fans were not very happy with some of the moves that the front office, or the lack of move that this front office has made. Who would have thought that 6 months later they would be at the top of the Supporter Shield mountain again? And now I think, with them winning the Supporter Shield, as great as that is, I still think the ultimate goal for the Union is definitely MLS Cup. I'm not gonna say that they're at that category as Miami is in terms of MLS Cup or buzz, and we talk about how there's always the supporter shield curse, and that could be a problem. I mean, Miami definitely got that supporter shield curse, and let's also not forget the last time when the Union won the supporter shield. Yeah, it didn't go so well for them in the first round of the playoffs. They definitely hope that there's not going to be a repeat of that. But at the same time, you can also say that maybe the pressure still could be on this team. Again, this team wants to get over the hump. This is feels like an extended window for them, which I thought it was close after last season failure to make it to the playoffs, and especially with the firing of Jim Curtin as well. But now it feels like the window has now been extended and it's open again, and this is a great opportunity for the Union to go deep again and potentially win the thing. I mean, they have had a long list of legacy failure, and while yes, winning the Supporter Shield is great and all, just as Red Bulls fan, the fact that yeah, winning the Supporter Shield wins, that's a great feeling in your club. But after winning a couple of times and unable to get over the ultimate amount of winning MLS Cup, that's when the frustration can start kicking in. And there's no doubt that I would say there might be pressure for the Union heading into this playoffs that they want to finally conquer the mountain, and finally this might be the time to do so, especially now that they're going to have home field advantage for the entire part of the playoffs, including MLS Cup itself if it gets there. Now, moving on in terms of the next match, and one team that they potentially could have to knock out to get to that MLS Cup is Inter Miami. So for Inter Miami, obviously this has been a long past month for them. You can clearly see the team is getting exhausted because of so many games. But you know who is not exhausted? Yeah, the GOAT himself. It feels like Lionel Messi again. When Messi is on, nobody can stop him, and it's not just in MLS play, but if you can see Messi still be on the top of his game, it doesn't matter which club he plays. You can put him in one of the worst club in MLS, and he can definitely make that team good as well. That's how good the GOAT himself is, and he definitely had himself a game in this one as well, albeit not in the goal scoring part. Now in the first half, the first shot of the game did see Bai struck the post on the header. So despite New England was kind of just part of the show in this one, they actually had a chance to get the opening goal. Messi would then hit it right to Turner. The shots were one apiece early in this one. Not much chances really in this to begin. That would change later. Turner would then deny Alande from close range before the ball put it into the back of the net. But yeah, the flag quickly came up. It wasn't close whatsoever. It was like 5 yards offside there. I think he probably knew it as well. But there was no doubt that Miami was gaining steam. They were pressing to try to get the opener. Messi tried to do so in the 24th minute, but he hits it right to Turner. But then in the 32nd minute, Miami takes the lead. It's Alande. He scored from Messi and Alba to give Miami a 1-0 lead. Rodriguez looked to make another, but he puts that one over in the 37th minute. And then Messi thought that he scored the second goal of the game. Problem was this time the goal was disallowed for offside. This one was a little bit closer, but still, it was pretty clear that the flag was always going to come up. It was all Miami up to this point. This is your kind of typical Miami team that is just completely punishing against a lowly opposition like New England. And yeah, New England definitely need halftime to try to regroup, because whatever they did in this one, they definitely didn't show up. And they were hoping to get to halftime just down 1-0. That didn't work out, because in the third minute of stoppage time, Jordi Alba would score for Messi to make it 2-0 in favor of Inter Miami. Yeah, the Revs, they turned the ball over in that play. You do not want to turn the ball over against this Miami team. When you turn the ball over against this Miami team, especially if the ball turned over in the feet of Lionel Messi, yeah, you might as well just move your defense out of the way. He's gonna create some magic, whether on the goal scoring or in the assist chart. And this time he did it in the assist chart. And yeah, just like that, it was 2-0 in favor of Miami heading into halftime. In the second half, Suarez did look for free, but he heads it high before Messi just dragged it wide from close range in the 54th minute. The Revs, they have no answer at the back right now. I mean, like I said, they were just kind of part of this show that Miami was definitely putting in front. Again, if Miami plays like this, I don't think even the best team in the league can stop them. They were that good in this game. So they did give up a goal in the 58th minute as Turgerman would score from heel to get one back for New England. It was a banger of a goal there from Dor Turgerman as well. And you're thinking, maybe New England? No. 2 minutes later, Alande would score from Messi to make it 3-1 to restore the two-goal lead. And then not long after, Jordi Alba would score again. He scored from Segovia to make it 4-1 in favor of Miami. This is kind of when I really didn't really take too much notes because yeah, this game was out of reach. Polster would then hits it right to Rios Novos before he denied Torgelman of his second from close range. The refs definitely started creating some chances, but how much is because Miami just kind of put their foot off the gas, and again, maybe fatigue has started to be a factor of this team, considering they play so many games in such a short amount of period. Shankalai would then hits it right to Rios Novos. Messi then hits one right to Turner in the 82nd minute. And as much as I know Messi got a hat trick of assists, if you ask him, he would definitely love to be on the goal scoring chart as well. Rios Novos would then deny Shankalai from close range, but it's also important to note that Messi actually become the second player in MLS history to have 40 goal contribution. Now, I'm not quite sure if he's gonna break Vela record. Vela record is 49 goal contribution. Messi is currently at 40, and there's no doubt that if Messi was healthy even for more than he has this season, because people forget that he hasn't been healthy throughout the entire season. I have no doubt that he would have definitely broke Vela record, but nevertheless, it's pretty impressive the fact that even in limited times, even though he hasn't played every single game, he's still putting this kind of number, and once again making his case that he could repeat as the MLS MVP again, and this time maybe a stronger case too, because last season I think there, as much as I know Messi of course won the MVP, a lot of people were very unhappy the fact that he only played half of the season, and yes, he did put up some great numbers, definitely MVP worthy a number, but there's that discussion, the fact that he only because he played half of the season, does he really qualify for that? I think this season he definitely have a much stronger case, especially with more games that he have played this season compared to last year. But nevertheless, in the end, Miami wins 4-1 in this one. The shots in this one, 14 shots for 11 that New England has. 5 shots on goal for the 8 that Miami has. Both teams had 3 shots off target. 3 shots that was blocked for the 2 that New England has. And possession-wise, 53% possession compared to 47% possession that New England has in this game. Now, moving on in the next game is Orlando versus Columbus. So this was a game where, for both of these teams, they desperately need a win. I mean, both of these teams haven't been in the best of form lately, and in case of one team, it feels like they're just gonna back into the playoffs and probably getting eliminated in the first round. But in Orlando cases, this is a team that still has aspiration of potentially going deep, and it's not kind of showing that, at least lately, in terms of how they've been playing. And once again, drop points in this game against a Columbus team that is starting to get a little bit more healthy. They did get Rossi back in this game, but to no avail in terms of getting the win. Galese would then deny Rossi on the game's first shot in the 8th minute before Chambols would hit it right to Galese. Columbus was definitely on the front foot early, trying to push for the opening goal, and they do hit that in the 32nd minute as Andres Herrera would score from Lapinainen to give Columbus a 1-0 lead. That lead only lasted 2 minutes because in the 34th minute, Pasalic would ties the game up at one apiece, and that was a rare mishap for Patrick Schulte. Schulte has been excellent throughout the season, and that is one that he would want to have back. I mean, just a juicy rebound that he gave up there right into to the path of Pasalic after he made that save from Morial, and yeah, Pasalic easily punished him because of that mistake. And just like that, the game was tied up at one apiece. Rossi did look to respond, but he was denied by Schulte. The ball did recycle. Lepinainen had another chance here. In fact, that was the third opportunity that Columbus had in that sequence, but his shot goes wide. Brekalo would then hits it over from close before he hits it right to Schulte in the 43rd minute, and we head to halftime with the score tied up at one apiece. In the second half, Ojeda hits it right to Schulte. Not much chances really created in the beginning of the second half, and that would be kind of the case throughout the rest of the game as well. Things really kind of slow down in terms of chance creation in this one. Galese would absolutely rob Arfson from point blank in the 83rd minute. Oh, I skipped the fact that Herrera would hits it right to Galese. Columbus definitely was pushing, like desperately trying to get this win to get themselves at least some sort of momentum heading into the playoffs. Gastag would then puts it wide on the doorstep of goal, and in the end, Columbus, despite they pushed to try to get the win, they don't get it. It's a 1-1 draw in this one. The shots in this one, 10 shots for the 18 that Columbus had, 6 shots on goal for the 4 that Orlando City has, 1 shots off target for the 3 that Columbus had, 7 shots that was blocked for the 4 that Orlando has, and possession-wise, 62% possession compared to the 38% possession that Orlando are in terms of this game. And as I said, I don't think either of these teams will be satisfied with the draw. I mean, for Columbus, I know that they're probably going to be a first round exit, but Wilfred Nancy still wants to get some momentum and maybe give this team a chance heading into the playoffs. But for Orlando City, I mean, yeah, just like what I said about Nashville, they are in danger of dropping themselves into the playing round. Of all the hard work that Orlando City has done this season, that would be considered a big failure for them to not be in the playing round. And if they do suffer an early exit, that would be absolutely unacceptable. I mean, Orlando has started to kind of have the same started to fall into the same category of what we see with the Red Bulls, where this is a team that will constantly make it to the playoffs. In fact, they're actually now have the longest active playoff streak after the Red Bulls streak came to an end last week. So yeah, I guess there's that similarity of the fact that yes, they're happy that they make it to the playoffs, but not being able to get over the hump and not having an MLS Cup appearance to show for that's got to frustrate Orlando City fans. It just feels like they always are no matter the pieces that they have, they always are just missing that extra step to get themselves competitive. And heading into this bloodbath Eastern Conference playoff, kind of ran in these next couple of weeks. I don't know if Orlando can survive with the form that they've been playing in lately. But with that being said, I am now going to switch board and look at the last four games to finish up the review for match week number 38. At least the first part it is, looking at the first 8 game of match week number 38. All right, so moving on, in the next game is Minnesota versus Sporting KC, and I call this the get right Minnesota win. Coming into this game, obviously it's been a rough last week or and a half or so for this Loon side. It's hard to believe that from the high that they had winning against San Diego to really get themselves into that conversation of not only winning the Supporter Shield but also getting first in the West, to now basically them losing in the U.S. Open Cup final, having multiple injury that devastate this team. I mean, this team desperately needed a win, and this is a game I thought there's a great chance to do so against a lowly SKC side that have now lost 5 in a row in this one, and not to mention they were pretty much missing all their attacking pieces, or at least most of them. Jovic was really the only good attacking pieces that they have left. They did not have Sulemanov, who was suspended in this game. They did not have Garcia, who's been injured for the past couple of weeks, and they also didn't have Shawi starting in this game as well. So yeah, it was a very decimated Sporting KC side, and in the end, Minnesota put a pretty professional performance, and they put a performance that I haven't seen this kind of performance that they put recently, and that of course is they're able to win the game despite the fact that they had more ball. It is very rare to say about this team to win the game while having the ball as well, because that's been the biggest problem for this team. They just cannot break teams down when they are giving the chances. But in this game, they kind of shows that, though it is a little bit asterisk because they're facing against an SKC defense that is just among one of the worst in the league. Now, in the first half, the first shot of the game did see Polshkem deny Pereira from the free kick. Sporting definitely do what every team tends to do when they try to face against Minnesota, which is giving the possession all to the Loons, see if they can break them down. But in the 12th minute, James was Sporting's first chance, but he missed wide on the header. The shots were 4-1 for Minnesota early on, but just not many dangerous chances that is created. Again, part of that is because the Loons were having a lot of trouble breaking down this SKC defense. Well, that all changed in the 25th minute because Anthony Markanek would score again from Pereira. What a career season it's been for Anthony Markanek. I mean, not only signing the contract extension, but he's kind of proving why he deserved his scoring here again to give the Loons a 1-0 lead, and that also came out of a set piece as well. So yeah, when all in doubt, when things are not going this team way, why not rely on the good old set piece? I mean, they are the set piece king of MLS this season. This is one of the big reasons why they are where they are in the standings this year. Though that is one that, yeah, for John Polsham, he would feel like he should have done much better. And so much for my praise of John Polsham early this season. I mean, I've been praising him of doing very well, and he has had a pretty good season for the most part. But lately, yeah, things have kind of fallen apart for him lately, and this was one that, yeah, he probably should have saved it. And this won't be the only one where I would say John Polskamp would absolutely want to have back in terms of the goal he conceded. But just 10 minutes later, Longwane looked like he put the ball into the back net. Problem was, the goal, of course, was disallowed for offside, and yeah, Longwane really wish he had a goal here. He's been going for a long dry spell of not scoring goal, but that obviously is a big part of the fact that he's been more playing on a defensive position compared to what we usually see him on the attacking end. He also played in that number 9 spot again. I'm not a big fan of seeing him in that number 9 spot. I get it. Yes, they don't have a legit number 9 besides DM there, who didn't play in this one, but I feel like putting him in that false nine position, it just does not work for him, and it kind of showed in this game as well. Lud would then puts it wide as the flag went up. The build-up has been good for the Loons, but again, final third play has been lackluster at best for this Loons team. Though they did had a or actually in the 42nd minute, Sporting Casey had a chance to tie this game up, and of all players to have a chance to tie it up, it was Mason Coy. But he was absolutely robbed by Dane Sinclair. So something tells me I think Dane Sinclair probably have seen what Mason Coy has done throughout training. Obviously, being former her teammate, he probably know what he's gonna do on a 1v1, and yeah, that I think that maybe play a big advantage of him just kind of stonewall Coy there. And if he does score this goal, I don't know if Mason Toy would celebrate against his former team. I mean, this is the team that kind of bring him to stardom a little bit before things kind of didn't felt to him. He's kind of been bouncing around in the league, but nevertheless, big chance there for Sporting KC that was not taken, and Minnesota very lucky the fact that they were heading into halftime with a 1-0 lead. In the second half, Lud was in on goal there, and it looked like he was going to slot that one home, and he just didn't put enough power when he's trying to slot that one away, and the shot was clear off the line. But the good news for Minnesota, they do get that second goal in the 60th minute, as Joaquin Pereira would score to make it 2-0. And yeah, this is one that, again, for John Polskamp, not a great goal for him to concede. Just make it. He gave up a big rebound down here on the save here, and you just can't do that. Perry into a dangerous position. Pereira was in the right place, right time to punish him, and just like that, it was 2-0 in favor of Minnesota. He did then rob Duggins on a free header in the 63rd minute, but on the recycle play, Mark Henning would score again. He scored from Tratnis to give Minnesota a 3-0 lead. So all of a sudden, Nectar Tratnis not only are scoring bangers, but now he's the assist man. I mean, what can this guy can do? He's been a guy that we talk about this team desperately need a number six for a very long time. Who would have thought that they finally found it with Trentness? And I know it might still be early days, but he has been the number six that this team has been dying for a very long time. The way that he has controlled that midfield and actually protect the back line as well, while also looking optimistically going forward on the attack. That is something that Loons fans been dying for a very long time, and it's great that the team finally addressed this issue. And if he continue this run of form, he could be a key player in terms of helping this team go on a deep playoff run as well. But there was no doubt that that moment also happened when Sporting didn't clear their lines. Yeah, when you don't clear their lines, you're gonna pay the price again. But also, this is what I realized. Oh, it's 2-0 in favor of Minnesota. Didn't I see that happen in March? Yeah. Again, I as much as I know when the way that this team was absolutely dominating in this one, and I know Sporting Casey were not doing very well whatsoever. I mean, wasn't that the same story back in March, and they give up three consecutive goals? So I kind of got a little bit of PTSD and kind of got a little nervous. The fact that, oh boy, they better get that fourth goal, because I do not want to see another 3-0 lead being blown, just like what we saw in March. Rosales would then puts it wide off the deflection before the post, denying Rodoja from close range. If that one went in, man, it's gonna trigger me PTSD, because that was right around the time when Sporting KC started to make the comeback as well. Jovic would then puts it wide on the corner in the 74th minute. There was no doubt that Sporting KC was getting to this game, and the intensity not only has dropped for the Loons, but this is when I got a little bit nervous, because I just worried that as soon as Sporting KC score that one goal, I'm just gonna have PTSD of what we saw back in March. Duggan would then puts it high from long range in the 84th minute before Tommy hits one right to Dane Sinclair. Luckily, as the game goes along, as we get closer into stoppage time, that's when my nerves kind of calm down a little bit, because as I said, the 3-0 lead this season with how many teams have blown it, and especially this was the team that kind of started that trend of blowing 3-0 leads this season against Sporting KC. Yeah, you just never want to relax in terms of just taking it by a chance. But the good news is Minnesota does get the win in this one. The shots in this one, 14 shots for the 8 that Sporting KC had. 3 shots on goal for the 7 that Minnesota has. 1 shots off target for the 2 that Sporting KC had. 2 shots was blocked for the 5 that the Loons had. And possession-wise, 52% possession compared to 48% possession that Sporting KC has in this one. And while this win might not be big in terms of the fact that this team could could be using this as a way to say that yeah, this is going to be a big helpful cause in terms of our play off race or our push to still try to get at the top of the Western Conference. It is a get right win. This is a team that desperately need a win with the way that they have not played anywhere close to where they have been when it comes to they've been playing throughout this whole season. And albeit it was against a weak Sporting KC side, but like the old saying goes, you can only play against who you play, and you can only play against the team that is few against you. And in this case, Minnesota takes full advantage against a Sporting KC side that they just want the season to end. Like they're clearly in CU next season mode, as it is the case for a lot of these bad teams in MLS right now. Now, that being said, speaking of a team that is in CU next season mode, that of course is the Houston Dynamo because they are officially eliminated after this loss against San Diego. But I gotta say, I wish we get more Houston versus San Diego matchup because just like the last matchup, this game was absolutely bonkers. I mean, this game, the last 10 minutes really felt like MLS After Dark, and it felt like a repeat of what we saw back in a couple of months down in Snapdragon. Just endless goals, just tactic free zone, just endless chaos whatsoever. But in the end, San Diego, just like what I said about Minnesota need a get right win. This is definitely the get right win that they needed for a long time, and they've been waiting for this offensive explosion for a very long time. And for one of the few times this season, at least in the last couple of games, they not only score goals in this one, they're able to score goals that is not named Anders Dreyer. Now, in the first half, Lozano with the game's first shot, but he hits it right to Bond. But then in the 15th minute, Houston takes the lead as Andrade would score from Urso to give Houston a 1-0 lead. That was also the first shot for the Dynamo as well. So, yeah, that's not ideal for San Diego to already concede it as well. That one, obviously, I don't think Dos Santos had anything to do with it. And to be fair, Dos Santos, yes, he definitely had some shaky moments in this game again, but I can't really fault either of the goals that he conceded in this game. The defense for San Diego, that is another thing that could be a big concern even coming out of this game as well. But one thing that was almost a big concern is Dos Santos making a mistake because in the 21st minute, Ponce looked for another, but he denied by Dos Santos, who once again gave up a juicy rebound and was very lucky not to punish here. He's been doing that a lot in terms of giving up juicy rebound left, right, and center, and that's kind of the reason why he could be a liability again for the San Diego side. Holmes would then puts it wide from long range before Bond denied Lozano from close. The shots were 5 apiece 30 minutes into this one. Dwyer would then miss wide from long range in the 31st minute before Dua would put it high from long range. San Diego, they're getting the shots, but again, you can kind of see, at least up to this point, why this team is struggling to score goals. A lot of low percentage shot that the Dynamo, they're just going to be happy to give up whatsoever. We then had some coming together as well as Ponce was having some displeasure, not only to one San Diego player, but he definitely had some choice work with a couple of San Diego players as well. Ponce would then puts it high on the volley before Lozano puts it wide from close in the 5th minute stoppage time. But we do head to halftime with Houston leading 1-0. Then the second half happened, and this is when the craziness began. There was a huge shout for a penalty for San Diego that they feel like could have been given, as it looked like Pellegrino was brought down in the box. In fact, they did go to VAR to see whether or not that is the case. The answer is yes. So San Diego gets a penalty. Here comes Anders Dreyer's a chance to put the ball into the back of the net. Now Dreyer has had some issues at times from the spot as well this season, but this time he makes no mistake. So he buries it to ties the game up at one apiece. Bossy did look to answer in the 74th minute, but he hits but he puts that one high after Dos Santos again. He missed the cross as well. Again, the wildness of Dos Santos was kind of there to see again. Pellegrino then hits it onto the roof of the net in the 82nd minute because he's still completely snake bitten. But you know who isn't snake bitten and finally got off the schneid? Look at De La Torre. As in the 85th minute, yes, I cannot believe that a San Diego player not named Anders Dreyer had scored a goal. But here, De La Torre would score from Pellegrino and to Mundo to make it 1 in favor of San Diego. But unfortunately, that lead would be short lived because in the 87th minute, this is a player that I didn't think he's playing with the Houston Dynamo. Sergio Santos. I didn't even think that Cincinnati actually cut him, but he was playing by waiver by the Houston Dynamo, and he wastes no time to score his first goal for the Dynamo as he scored from Inali here to tie the game up at 2 apiece, and that was an absolute gift. I mean, San Diego committing a WTF turnover there, just gift wrapped it it to the Houston Dynamo. So all of a sudden, the game was tied up at two apiece, and it didn't stay tied for long because in the 90th minute, when all in doubt, why not rely on the MVP candidate, Anders Stryer? You know that they've been really been kind of look carry landing him and really hoping he can carry the low on the attack. Well, he did it again here. He scored from Pellegrino and De La Torre to make it 3-2 in favor of San Diego. I mean, it just got crazy in terms of this game. All of a sudden, defense was kind of put to the side, and then it was announced it was 12 minutes of stoppage, and I'm just thinking, oh boy, we're gonna have a repeat of the game we saw down in San Diego, right? Where remember in that game there was like 17 minutes of stoppage time. Anelli looked like he tried to tie the game up. He went beast mode here, but he was denied by Dos Santos. But then in the 13-minute stoppage time, San Diego put this one away, and the curse is finally lifted. Amal Pellegrino, for the first time since the game that he scored against Sacramento in the U.S. Open Cup, had put the ball into the back of the net. He scored from Verskov here to make it 4-2 in favor of San Diego. And in many ways, I was kind of happy to see Pellegrino finally score because as much as I do kind of make fun of him in terms of not scoring. I do feel bad for him and the fact that if he was being a little bit more clinical in terms of finishing, I think he still is a San Jose Earthquakes player. I don't think he is with San Diego right now, but unfortunately because of the fact that he feels like he's been following that snake bin trend into San Diego as well. I'm pretty sure San Diego fans would start getting frustrated too with his lack of finishing, but yeah, great to see him finally get that off the shot as well to make it 4-2 in this one and to put this game out of reach. But yeah, I mean, what a game it was. Again, can we get more Houston versus San Diego game? Because it just feels like these times that both of these teams have met each other, it's been just craziness at the end of the game. MLS After Dark kind of craziness as well. Shots in this one, 16 shots for the 15 that San Diego had, 6 shots on goal for the 5 that Houston had, 3 shots off target for the 5 that San Diego has, 3 shots that was blocked for the 6 that Houston has, and possession-wise, 59% possession compared to 41% possession the Dynamo has in this game. And like I said, with this loss, the Houston Dynamo is officially eliminated from playoff contention. What a disappointing season it's been for the Houston Dynamo. And I feel like this is kind of fitting the fact that they would be eliminated at home with this loss because the home form this season has been absolutely dreadful. I mean, this has been by far the worst home form that they have had in recent memory. This is a team that a couple of years ago it was the opposite, where the home form was the one that was carrying them into the playoffs, and the road form obviously was not so good. But now it's been kind of the opposite, and that's kind of something that I don't think Dynamo fans will be pleased either to see the fact that they're happy their road form has gotten better, the fact that they can't win games at home, and the fact that they can't use the Heat as an advantage like what we used to see. I mean, that's got to be very frustrating if you're a Houston Dynamo fan. Now, moving on in terms of the next match, it's Chicago versus Toronto. So this was the Jack Elliott game. I mean, it is not very often I see one player make a huge impact on both ends of the goal, but that's exactly what Jack Elliott did in this one. I mean, he scored what I call a defender hat trick in this game. Now, in the first half, 5 minutes in, the first shot of the game did see Gutierrez puts it high from long range before Johnson denied Gutierrez from long range, as I thought the Fire was on the front foot. They were looking to try to get the opener. Johnson denied Kuipers on the from the corner before he denied Oriel from long range. So Sean Johnson, I mentioned before in the Moving Forward series, being the MVP of this team, he seems like he's back in his NYCFC form and a guy that maybe could sneak into that conversation of being back in the national team. Has had a really good season so far for Toronto FC. But unfortunately, or actually fortunately for TFC, that is, in the 27th minute, they would get the opening goal, and really just something that I don't think anybody saw this coming, because up to this point it was all Chicago, and really this is even the first shot of the game for Toronto FC. This is not going to count as a shot on goal because Jack Elliott would score an own goal here. I mean, I told you he would make a difference on both ends, and the good news for him, it would get better for him as the game goes along. But here, yeah, very unfortunate from Jack Elliott. He tried to stab that one out of play, and we see defenders try to do that sometimes. And if you're not aware of where you are, you might accidentally slap it into your own net, and that's exactly what happened here. And yeah, just like that, Toronto, without even registering a shot in this one, they take a 1-0 lead, something that we usually don't see that happen often in the game. Osorio did look for another, but he was denied by Brady, and that actually was the first shot of the game for Toronto FC. And I thought the own goal really hurt Chicago momentum. I mean, I think the Fire was kind of a little shell shocked the fact that they've been dominated for the first 27 minutes, only for an own goal to happen because now Toronto was getting the opportunity to try to make it 2-0. Mihajlovic would then puts it wide from long range in the third minute of stoppage time, but we do head to halftime with Toronto leading 1-0, despite the fact that for the most part Chicago were the better team. In the second half, Elliott would then heads it right to Johnson in the 54th minute. Not much chances really created, which is kind of what Toronto wanted. This is the game that a Robin Fraser TFC side is going to play. They're not going to give you a lot of chances. They're going to make the game very boring, and I think Chicago is kind of finding that out the hard way. They were having a really difficult time to create any chances whatsoever against a very resilient TFC defense. Kerr would then hits it right to Brady in the 66th minute, but then the 71st minute, Jack Elliott did the Yamar. So he scored here from Zikanago to tie the game up for Chicago. And the reason why I say he's doing the Yamar is remember Yamar scored an own goal and score a goal in the same game against Minnesota. That's kind of the reference for those that haven't watched my channel for a long time. And yeah, he scored on both end here, kind of get a little redemption to tie the game up at one piece, but he's not done in terms of this game. Tuami would then look for the lead, but he puts it wide from long range, and then it looked like there was a penalty that was given to TFC, but VAR deemed that Elliott did not foul Corbinu in the box here. I swear, when I say Jack Elliott was heavily involved in this game, I mean it. I mean he was in the storyline of all the key moments in this one and here. It was the right call. I don't think Elliott foul Corbinu here in the box whatsoever, and I think that was the right call to overturn that. But in the 89th minute, who else but Jack Elliott would score? So he scored here to complete what I call the defender hat trick. I mean, I guess you can call it a defender hat trick. There's no official name in terms of a defender scoring 2 goals and scoring an own goal here, but I'm gonna count that as a defender hat trick with scoring 3 goals, 2 for his team, 1 for the other team from Zikanago to give Chicago a 2-1 lead, but that lead would disappear in the 9th minute of stoppage time because certified fire moment has to come back. As much as I know this team has kind of got rid of that narrative a little bit, yeah, this game that narrative kind of came back to bite them because the penalty was given to Toronto. This time it was Bomba brought down Rosta in the box. This time there was no doubt that it was a penalty. So here comes Mihajlovic, a chance to tie the game up at one apiece. He's been very good from the spot. But Brady says no. He denied him from the spot here. But Mihajlovic does a good job to react to this one. This is something that I think you just simply can't teach when you're a penalty taker. I mean, as much as you'll be frustrated you missed the penalty, you also want to be first to react on the loose rebound before the goalkeeper's able to gather. And this time Mihajlovic does a good job to quickly react to it. He got there before Brady can grab the rebound. So yeah, that ties the game up at 2 apiece. And that would be the final score of this game. It's the 8th consecutive draw that Toronto FC has had this season, depending on how you look at it. It's an 8-game unbeaten streak or an 8-game winless streak. And by the way, I did dig in the record. Yes, this is the longest consecutive streak that Toronto has had in terms of draw in MLS history. The previous record was actually 6 draw in a row. 8 draw is the record right now, or at least they extended that record. They actually broke that record last week against Inter Miami. The shots in this one, 12 shots compared to 7 that Toronto has, 4 shots on goal compared to 6 that the Fire has, 2 shots off target compared to none that TFC had, 2 shots on block for the 4 that Chicago has, and possession-wise, 55% possession compared to the 45% possession that TFC has in this game. What a weird game this was. This was truly the Jack Elliott game. And if you're a Fire fan, I mean, I know they'll be happy the fact that they, of course, are in the playoffs. But again, the home form this season, that's another issue for them. I mean, the good news is they're probably not going to be playing at home for a majority of the game. They're going to probably have one playoff home game, depending on whether if it's in the play-in round or even in the first round proper as well, because the row is where they usually fried this season. But it's going to be frustrated the fact that they can't win those home games. But I would say there's really no shame in terms of getting a draw against Toronto because, like I said, this is a team that has that motive of, well, if we can't win because we have lack of quality, then we got to make sure you don't win either because of the way that they have now drawn 8 games in a row. It's quite crazy to see that is the case with this team. Now, moving on into the last game of this review, is Austin and St. Louis. So I talked about before where Nashville kind of suffer a bit of U.S. Open Cup final hangover of them not playing at their best, at least until the second half against Montreal. Well, you can say the same thing for Austin in this game, but unfortunately for Austin, unlike where Nashville, of course, did get a point out of this one, they get nothing out of this one against St. Louis, and it feels like this was a game where Austin was in a hungover throughout the entire game. You can clearly see the body language was not there for this Austin team, and credit to St. Louis. They took full advantage of it, and it feels like we're starting to see something similar to last season again, isn't it, for St. Louis, where they had a pretty horrible first half of the season, but they really kind of kick into gear in the second half of the season. And I want to say maybe they can build that into to next season, but I said that last year, and yeah, it didn't go so well for this team. In the first half, Horto with the game's first shot, but he missed that over. Not much really happened early on. The shots were only 1-0 for St. Louis. Klaus would then hits it over from close range before Harto puts it over from long range in the 19 minutes. St. Louis definitely started well. Austin again clearly feeling the effect of losing the final. The mentality was just not there for Nico Estevez and team in this game. Kessler would then hits one right to Stuver in the 24th minute, but then in the 28th minute, Marcel Harto would score. So he scored for Morales to give St. Louis a 1-0 lead. It was a banger of a goal there from Marcel Harto that all of a sudden started to become a goal scoring threat for the St. Louis side again. Pompeo did look for another, but he puts that one over. It was all St. Louis up to this point. And again, I know Austin is definitely going to be very disappointed and are probably still very frustrated in terms of refereeing decision that gone against them in the Open Cup final. But at some point, you still got to show up in this game. I mean, when you look at where they are in the standings, I mean, they're not really they there in terms of making sure that they don't play in the playing round, and I think they also did clinch the playoffs after this game, even with a loss. But still, I mean, if you're an Austin fans, are you going to be very happy the fact that they're kind of back their way into the playoffs and doesn't really have too much momentum heading into the playoffs? Well, actually, in the 36th minute, at least this is something that Austin fans will be happy, and that, of course, is seeing an equalizer, an unexpected one, as well as Swatok would score the first goal of the season for him with Austin from Wolf to tie the game up at one apiece, really completely against the run of play because up to this point it was all St. Louis. Uzuni would then look for another, but missed one in the 41st minute. Momentum definitely with Austin, realizing that yeah, let's now shake off that Open Cup final disappointment and really go at it. But that momentum quickly come to a halt because in the 45th minute, Marcel Hartel would score again. So he scored for Pompeo and Klaus to make it 2-1 in favor of St. Louis. Klaus trying to make it 3-1, but he missed that 1 in the fourth man of stoppage time, and we do head to halftime with St. Louis leading 2-1. And I think that goal by Hartel was kind of the backbreaker for Austin. I mean, just as they thought that they had the momentum in this game with the equalizer, just as they believed that things were going right, they conceded a goal right at before the halftime whistle and give the lead right back to St. Louis, and they really never recovered after that. In the second half, hindsight puts it over from long range. Well, I say they never recovered. They actually did kind of start promisingly in the second half. Savage would then miss wide from close as Austin definitely started well, trying to get another one back. Pereira would then puts it wide from long range before Harto tried to go for the Hattie, but he hits it right to Stuver. Joyner would then puts it wide from close in the 80th minute. St. Louis says, not so fast. We're going to try to get the momentum back and look to try to seal this one. Uzuni would then hits it right to Berkey before McSorley missed wide from close in the first minute of stoppage time. But then in the third minute of stoppage time, Simon Betcher put the lights out at Q2. So he scored here from Morales to make it 3-1 in favor of St. Louis. Great to see Alfredo Morales get on the assist chart twice. I mean, a guy that has kind of been a forgotten man in this league. People remember the heroic that he's done with NYCFC, but it's been kind of a forgotten man. First with the San Jose Earthquakes, now joining St. Louis as well. But great to see that he still got it, at least in the plate making department. And yeah, in the end, St. Louis gets the 3-1 win in this one. The shots in this one, 22 shots compared to 14 that Austin has in this one. So much for saying that Austin has been pretty good defensively. Yeah, they gave up a lot of shots in this one. 8 shots on goal for the 2 that Austin had. 4 shots off target for the 7 that St. Louis had. 4 shots that was blocked for the 8 that Austin has. And possession-wise, 57% possession compared to 43% possession that St. Louis has in this game. And for St. Louis fan, as much as they're happy the fact that the team is playing much better, it's kind of like the same thing as last season as well, where there's got to be some frustration of the fact that why couldn't they play like this in the beginning of the season? Why they had to wait until things didn't really matter, and now they're starting to get themselves back into the form. That's as frustrating as a feeling as the team just potentially going to miss out on the playoffs. And for Austin, like I said, they need to get their heads right and get their swagger back. I mean, this team was riding pretty high even heading into the US Open Cup final, but they kind of lost that with losing that in the final, and now just kind of really they didn't really show up too much in this game against St. Louis. They need to get that swagger back, because if they don't get that swagger back, they could get themselves knocked out relatively quickly in the playoffs this season. But there you have it. That is pretty much it when it comes to looking at all of these games, at least the first 8 games, that is, from match week number 38. Well, I say the first 8 game. I already look at the first 3 games, that is, but this is the first 8 games that happened on Saturday night. Tomorrow we're going to look at the last 2 game, which is the 2 rivalry game in the Rocky Mountain Cup and the Cascadia Derby, and then we also will look at what just happened a couple of hours ago between Vancouver and San Jose Earthquakes. Spoiler alert, yeah, it didn't go so well for the Quakes, and the Quakes kind of proved my point that, yeah, I was not surprised that they got absolutely destroyed by Vancouver, and this might be the same case with Atlanta potentially doing the same against LAFC, but we'll see how that game is gonna happen in just a bit. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.